Well, for us South Africans, the Palestinian issue has always been close and dear to our hearts. The founding father of our nascent democracy, His Excellency President Nelson Mandela, who is my grandfather, when visiting Gaza in 1995, respectively in 1997, said and made a commitment to the Palestinians that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people. And therefore, for us as South Africans, since his passing, we have picked up the baton where he left off, and we continue to champion the causes that he represented and stood for. And Palestine was one of those issues that was close and dear to his heart, as he regarded the Palestinian struggle to be the greatest moral issue of our time. We have been able, as South Africa, to hold the Zionist usurping entity accountable by taking it for the first time in its 76 years of genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. We have been able to take it to the ICJ and the ICC to hold it accountable. And this has led to us as South Africans ensuring that we rally behind all those that support the Palestinian struggle. Well, we have already as South Africans achieved the purpose of this case, because as I said earlier, the Zionist entity has acted without any impunity for the past 76 years. For the first time, it has been taken to the ICJ and the ICC by South Africa. And this has been a historical chapter. But we know very well that this case can drag for many more years, if not decades. And Israel or the usurping entity may continue acting without impunity. We have seen how they've attacked humanitarian aid workers and brutally killed some of them. And therefore, this for us needs to continue to be many more acts that will continue in advancing the Palestinian struggle. And this is why we are looking at broader avenues as to what we can be able to do. At a government level, we believe that the ICJ and the ICC is not the only avenue. We need to look at reform in global institutions. We need to look at how we bring about reform in the Security Council and how we bring about reform in the United Nations. We have seen that continuously, when a motion is brought within the United Nations, it is vetoed by one single member state who is enabling criminals to continue with the genocide, ethnic cleansing, and war crimes and crimes against humanity. And we can no longer allow that to go on without any counter action. And we believe, as many in the global south, that we need to look at a structure or an entity that is going to be focusing on multipolarity, and that will be the solution. As we South Africans know that the struggle for liberation is not only waged in an armed struggle. There are many components of ensuring that we were able to isolate apartheid South Africa, such as boycott, divestment, and sanctions, but also the mobilization of civil society across the globe. And therefore, the work that the Freedom Flotilla is doing has come from many humanitarian organizations that see that the Palestinians have been failed by their governments and have decided to rise to the occasion, particularly in upholding the ICJ ruling, which has ordered that the humanitarian aid must be allowed to flow freely into Gaza and to reach the Palestinians. In this regard, I am here to ensure that this Freedom Flotilla reaches its destination and it is able to break the siege and break the blockade on Gaza. Well, we are certain that as much as in South Africa we were able to defeat the apartheid regime, we too collectively can be able to defeat the Zionist usurping entity. And we must state it clearly that we as South Africans did not achieve our liberation on our own. And in this experience, we call on all Palestinian resistance forces as well as Palestinian factions to set aside their partisan ways and be able to unite and coordinate their efforts against one common enemy, that is the Zionist usurping entity. And therefore, we want to send a strong message to the Arab League of Nations and the countries in the region to learn a chapter from our frontline states. They need to give their full support to the Palestinian cause. But also, there are 6 million Palestinians in the diaspora, which we are calling upon them. And as the global ambassador for the global campaign to return to Palestine, we are calling on Palestinians in the diaspora to be the frontline soldiers for their own struggle for liberation. They must be the voice in the international community. They must be the ambassadors of their own struggle for liberation. With 6 million of them receiving the news from Gaza and occupied territories, we will be able in real time through the electronic intifada to get the news instantly to the global community. And you've seen this because we are witnessing protests and marches right across the globe in every major city. And the tide is beginning to turn in favor and in support of the Palestinians. Well, as I've said, that we have been able to break the lies and the propaganda perpetuated by the Zionist usurping entity. With the electronic intifada, we are able in real time to get the news out of Gaza and out of the occupied territories in the West Bank to the entire global community. And this is why it is important for us to activate every Palestinian in the diaspora to be the frontline soldiers that will receive this news and share in their communities, in their towns and cities and in the countries they are in, so that we can flood the entire global media with what is actually happening. We know that the Western media has been collaborating with the Zionist entity to perpetuate these lies. Some of the Western powers leaders have actually come on public platforms perpetuating these lies. And we have not lost hope. We are continuously inspired by the steadfastness of the Palestinians, and we will certainly not disappoint them in carrying their stories and their plight to the international community.